All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lincoln County Courthouse. This is meeting of the Lincoln County Planning Commission, and I'll start the meeting with a few introductory remarks. First of all, this meeting is being streamed live, and when adjourned and posted, it will be available at lincolncountysd.gov. The order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff findings. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and answer any questions from the County Planning Commission. I will then open the floor to public comment, first in persons in support of the application, and then persons in opposition of the application. When you come to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. We'll limit comments to 5 minutes each. Lastly, decisions on changing of zones and zoning ordinance text. Lastly, decisions on change of zones and zoning ordinance text amendments will be scheduled for additional public hearing during an upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting. The decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County and Planning Zoning Office within 5 business days. Thank you for your cooperation. All right. First, we will do a roll call. Commissioner Sweeter.
Commissioner Sweeter here.
Commissioner Boots.
Commissioner Boots here.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Otten.
Here.
And Commissioner Jungley is also here. We do have a quorum for the night. All right, now we'll look at the meeting minutes. You guys have all received a copy. Do we have any corrections or changes? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Boots.
Second, Otten.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the meeting agenda. Mr. Brown, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I'll move to approve the agenda, Scott.
Second, Sweeter.
All right, your motion a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. All right, now, one of my favorite parts, public input on non-agenda items. So anything anybody wants to speak on that's not on the agenda, feel free to come up and let us know. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to that. All right, we're on to our first item, a conditional use permit. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. This first item for public hearing tonight is an application for a conditional use permit for fireworks sales. Subject property is a little over 500 feet to the north of the city limits of Lenox. Subject property is what I call the Lincoln County 4-H Fairgrounds site. Subject property, or the area where they'll be conducting the sales, is Zone C Commercial. As you can see, this property is developed as the Lincoln County 4-H Fairgrounds. The property would be looking directly, the one looking out of the west would be the approximate location for the sales. The applicant did submit a concept plan, site plan with the application. On the screen, you'll see that there was an area identified to the south of the entrance going into the main 4-H office or event center area. So the applicant is proposing to conduct what we call temporary fireworks sales. So in the C Commercial Zoning District, you can receive a conditional use permit to conduct fireworks sales for a 9-day period. Anything longer than a 9-day period would require a temporary structure. The applicant is not proposing a permanent structure on the property. According to staff discussions with the applicant is proposing to conduct fireworks sales between June 27th and July 4th. The site would be cleaned up then on July 5th. There would be one employee with this particular sales, and then at busy times, potentially up to 4 individuals that would be working on the property. So staff did again receive this application for the sales on the property. In the staff analysis, identified that this area does meet the requirements for this type of a land use. Throughout these discussions, this is county-owned property, so to the best of my knowledge, the Board of Commissioners hasn't fully acted as far as giving permission to the applicant to operate. But our role in this process as the Planning Commission is to identify if this land use is appropriate for the area. Again, identify that this property is Zone C commercial, and so it shouldn't have any true impacts on that. The access to this would be off of South Dakota Highway 17, which is now a county road. But essentially, access should be okay with this type of a land use. So staff does recommend approval of this. Staff did post the property. The applicant did send notification out within 500 feet. As of this time, staff has received no comments or questions regarding this application. So staff does recommend approval of this application with the 7 conditions as listed. And again, as noted, condition number 5 would be contingent upon the Board of Commissioners review approval on an annual basis. So as you're aware, when we approve a conditional use permit, it does run with the land. So staff was concerned that, potentially this would be a continual type use that could just pop up. But we're going to put the condition on there, the Board of Commissioners has to give review or approval of that request. So, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that the board has for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their proposal. Or applicants.
Hi, I'm Andy. This is Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi. We've been running Fire Bros for,
Excuse me, Andy, can you get your address for the record?
yes, Andy, 1201 South Dunham Circle, Sioux Falls, South Dakota,
Thank you.
5706. We've been running a firework operation for 10 years now, and we kind of have it down to a science. We're in, we're out, we've got rentals on the property, we've got porta-johns for people to use. We have insurance on the property, so there's no liability on anybody's part. Something happens, somebody gets hurt, it's on us. And so the vision that we saw is, number one, this little guy was born, and my family needs some more money. And I was like, all right, well, let's still expand our business a little bit. But the second thing is that Lennox has the 4th of July old-fashioned celebration, which is such a good time. And all those people go to Black Cat, Power City, maybe some of my stores in Sioux Falls. And I just thought it would be super convenient for them if they just on their way out of town, just buy some fireworks. So that's the spirit of it.
Anything else?
Would you like to say something, Charles? Say hi?
No?
Nope.
All right.
He's out.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? No, go ahead.
I guess the only question I have is what arrangement do you have with Lincoln County and the 4-H people that are on the property, or what's that look like?
Yeah, yep. So they offered for us to use the inside of the building. I don't want to use the inside of the building. That's not my interest now. If it ever is, I suppose I'll be here again. But I just called them and they talked to the county lawyers, I think, and maybe if some lawyers are present, but they just said there's nothing illegal about it, so we don't see an issue with it. We prefer to use a tent for visibility, and then also so that, it's just kind of easier on our side. The rent inside would be fairly reasonable, but they have activities that go on. And so I think we would just be a paid tenant, where I did offer for a fundraising relationship with 4-H so that they could actually run it for an increased fee, and they declined. So my spirit of it was to actually raise money for 4-H beyond just the daily rental rate. And they said, we'll just take the money for doing, being the
Okay.
land. So
Cool,
that makes
thank you.
sense. Yep.
Thank you, Andy. Commissioners, any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application to speak.
I'm Dave Strasser, 27781 SD Highway 17, Lennox. Just a mile down from the property, or less than that even, so this will be short and sweet. Yes, I approve of it, and my opinion is any property in that area, a mile out of town, should be allowed to have a business there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. All right, anybody else in favor of the application? Seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I will ask a motion from the commission.
I'll move to approve. Scott?
Second, Boots.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Nope, all right. With that, I will do roll call. Commissioner Sweeter.
Yes.
Sorry, let me get a boot.
Got a scorecard now.
I do. It's a little different. Commissioner Boots.
Yes.
Commissioner Otten.
Abstain.
I think that's an A. Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling's a yes. All right, congratulations. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you on the 4th of July. All right, with that, we'll do our next application. Conditional use permit, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This next item is a conditional use to essentially, to meet the requirements of a previously approved conditional use permit. And so subject property is a little over, I think it's 5 or 6.5 miles to the northwest of the city of Beersford. This is in Delaware Township. Subject property is zoned A1 agricultural, as is all surrounding properties of this. This property, as you can see, is developed with a milk condensing plant. Again, that was approved in 2023, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The one looking onto the west would be looking on directly onto the property. So the applicant did present to staff a proposal to do an expansion of the existing plant that was approved in 2023. When staff reviewed the conditions from the original permit that was issued in 2023, there was a condition that any expansion required a new conditional use permit. So I think overall in general is that I'll talk that that's a good condition to have because it does allow us then to notify the public and go through this process of a public hearing. Typically, what the applicants are proposing as far as building space would be a little over 13,000 square feet. If that condition wasn't on there, this would just be approved as an administrative conditional use permit by staff. But I think there was concern by the planning commission at that time that any expansion that they wanted to make sure that the neighbors, the townships, everyone was duly notified, and then also had due process, which is tonight, which is to allow the public to comment on this proposal with it. So with that application that staff received, staff did have discussions with the applicant. Again, in terms of building footprint, this is about a 13,000 square foot addition onto the building. But more importantly, what this proposal is to do is, and I'm not going to get into the real nuts and bolts of it, the applicant can kind of talk about that, but I'll talk in generalities, is that what essentially this proposal is that the current, if you recall, the current operation is an RO plant that has different types of operation associated with it, with essentially, in kind of layman's terms, is they're taking the water out of the milk is essentially what they're doing, and then they're using that product to ship to other areas. This proposal tonight would be to add an ultrafiltration system to it, which will allow them to do additional items within the process. And so with that, the real nuts and bolts of that is that it will increase the amount of raw milk that they have coming through the facility. And so the majority, or I would say all of the milk that's produced within the footprint of the dairy that's owned by the applicant, that does go through this process, as well as they do have transportation coming into the facility from other dairies in the area. And so right now, in terms of that, I believe, and if I'm wrong, the applicant can correct me, but my understanding is that currently there's approximately 10 trucks per day that are coming into the facility, and then approximately half of that are leaving the site fully loaded. With this proposal, that would increase to 50 trucks per day coming into the facility, and then half of those are 25 tanker loads which should be loaded, which should be leaving the facility. And so a little bit, I was going to pull up that map once, but So this is the parcel browser for the county, just to show a little bit more perspective of where we're at. And so the proposed, or the facility is here now, and so the expansion would be on this footprint here. The main means of ingress and egress for this structure, facility, or operation is 468th Avenue, which is Delaware Township Road. The applicant does have a road haul agreement with Delaware Township to maintain that road. And then the access then is on the 291st Street, which is a county road, which then takes them directly to the interstate. So all told, it's a little over a half a mile that they're actually on Township Road, but that is a road haul agreement with them. So with that application, staff did review this application and determined that with the proposals that it still meets the standards for what an agriculturally related operation is, and it meets the standards for that type of operation. And so staff did recommend approval of this application with the, with the one condition. So this doesn't replace the existing conditional use permit. This would just be for this proposed expansion that they're proposing. So staff would recommend approval with the one condition that this would be in substantial compliance with the site plan that was submitted to staff, which was shown on the previous presentation. Staff did post a property. The applicant did notify property owners within 500 feet. As of this meeting, we haven't had any real kind of additional discussions, other than I did place before you, before the meeting. We did receive correspondence from Mr. A.J. Swanson, who I believe is legal counsel for Brooklyn Township, as well as I did include in front of you the minutes from a meeting that staff had with the dairy representatives and the townships, which was on March 18th of this year. There was a condition on the previous approval that staff, the dairy, and the townships would meet on an annual basis to just have a discussion as a condition of the permit. Did have that this year. As a note, that this was approved in 2023. They weren't fully operational until October of last year, as well as Brooklyn Township and the dairy was under litigation at that time too. So staff felt that we weren't going to have a meeting until, so this was the first meeting that we had this year. I think it was a productive meeting. It allowed both townships to kind of have a one-on-one discussion with staff and the dairy representatives. The Delaware Township where the site is located, they do again have a road haul agreement. So I think as far as my understanding of that is that Delaware Township doesn't have any objections as far as from a road agreement standpoint. There is no road haul agreement with Brooklyn Township, as was noted in the application materials. But that's a little bit longer story that I'll let probably Brooklyn representatives talk a little bit more about that part of it. So again, this is a unique situation where I think the Planning Commission did the right thing in 2023, and they required that any expansion would require this public hearing tonight, which allows everyone to be informed, aware, but then also public comment on what's before us tonight. From staff's review of this application, there's really nothing in the ordinance that addresses, intensity or density or, the issue of is this commercial or agricultural. This is a use that's allowed within the A1 agricultural district. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, just so I'm clear on this, if this was to be approved, the conditions from the previous conditional use permit would still be in play, correct?
Correct. This is a new conditional use permit. That previous conditional use permit stays intact. Correct.
But we'd still have to meet all the conditions from the first one.
Correct. Yep.
So the annual meeting of the townships, that's a condition in that one, would still have to happen.
Correct.
Okay.
Good question.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Commissioner.
My question, when this first came up, and then you just addressed it just a couple minutes ago, is that this does not change it from A1. I thought it should go into commercial, and you're saying that this is still agricultural, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this particular use would not be allowed in a commercial zoning district in the county currently. It's
Thank
only
you.
allowed in the A1 agricultural district,
Thank you.
so.
All right, commissioners, any additional questions?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brown, I had one for you, sorry.
Yep.
So you said the trucking traffic will increase from 10 to 15 or 10 to 50?
50.
50.
Yep, per day,
Okay.
per day, yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, with that, I'll ask the applicant or the representative to come forward and talk about their application.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Paul Cosboth. I'm a partner in A1 Development Solutions out of Sioux Falls, located at 101 South Phillips Avenue. And I've been working with the family here for a number of years, from back when they very first came here and built their first dairy down in this area. And I would just point out tonight, as has already been noted, what we're focusing here tonight to make sure we're all on the same page is the RO plant, or the condensing facility, the permit that pertains to that, not the dairies that are separate permits, totally unrelated from the standpoint of the change here, the addition here, or the expansion only impacts the plant. It won't change anything with the dairies as far as traffic or the needs for the dairies and feed and all those types of things. So maybe just to expand a little bit more on what Toby already covered, which he did a good job of just summarizing what's the project, what are they trying to do. The reason for adding the UF line just allows for more product opportunity out of the plant. It's still essentially the same process, the milk coming in, the RO, the removing of the water that goes back to the dairies to reduce water usage that they're otherwise buying from the rural water system. And so that's all recycled, reused at the dairies. For RO, that's kind of the end of the process. For the UF, what that allows for is the removal of the whey from the milk. Otherwise, it essentially is the same thing. That whey then will be used for feed at the dairies as well. And the whole reason for doing it, is the RO plant product, as it is today, when they're reselling that to further processing, that goes to things like yogurt or ice cream. That's the primary use where that ends up going and getting used. Through the UF process, then now they will have a product that's for the higher protein type of demand, such as those protein shakes that we've all seen that are out there. They're becoming a very popular product, or also for use in making cheese. So the increased milk that can come in is opportunity for other producers in the region, outside of just their own facilities that are there, which is always good for the industry, more use for the milk, local demand for the product. I guess I would also just add, the original facility was about a $60 million investment, employs 31 people there right now from the region, throughout Lincoln County and some from Sioux Falls. This expansion, adding of the UF line and the 2 truck bays is about another $30 million, and will add another 5 to 7 employees. So with that, I think in respect for your time, I can stop, and happy to answer any other questions that haven't already been addressed.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
I just have one question. So do I understand that other people bring milk into this facility as well? Is that what I understand?
They would purchase the milk and bring it into the facility for the processing that they do, or the refining, I guess you could say, the RO or the UF.
So it's
Correct.
not just this dairy's milk, it's other
Correct.
dairy's milk as well?
Correct. The 2 dairies that are nearby now, their milk goes in there as well, and then there's about 10 truckloads per day that come in, as Toby mentioned. And then this would allow for an additional 40 trucks, so a total of 50. That would come from other dairies outside.
Okay.
And as was noted, maybe I would just reiterate too, all of that traffic would strictly be the county highway, the interstate, or the Delaware Township Road that the facilities already currently fully maintain themselves.
All right, commissioners, any additional questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
As far as hours of operation, how does this affect it?
It would be the same, correct,
Still, yeah,
Brett?
it's still the same.
And I'm-
Which is,
We receive milk like 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that might increase a little bit, would go like 6 to 8 PM. And then.
Sir, could you step up to the microphone, then
I apologize. I should have introduced him.
no, then we'll make sure we're all on the
No,
record.
that's fine. Brett Rosenboom, address is 3504 East High Plains Circle, Sioux Falls. I work with the facility, and, yeah, our hours of operation would stay relatively the same, where we currently receive milk starting around 6 AM, and then would receive milk through between 6 and 8 PM. And then we process, as we take milk in, we continually process until we've processed for that day's allotment of milk.
Okay. And, okay. So basically, in those hours of operation, you expect, I mean, the traffic in those hours of operation the density is gonna get higher. It isn't gonna get spread across more hours.
Correct, yeah. A part of our expansion is adding 2 receiving bays, and so we can receive more milk at the same time. That's a part of the expansion.
I think it's about 3,800 square feet of the 13,000 is the 2 new truck bays. That's what was shown on the east side of I don't want to mess with Toby's computer here, but, oh, here we go. So this area is the two additional truck bays. That's part of the expansion. And then about 9,200 square feet of that is over here where the UF would go, and a couple office spaces on the west side.
Do you foresee any, in this process where, you'd ever go to like even more expanded hours, like 24 hours a day you'd be in receiving mode?
I mean, we don't have the need for it right now with our expansion.
Is it possible to do it?
Can we do it? Yes. We do have people on site 24 hours a day. Some of that is, it's sanitary, people are cleaning the facility, with it being a raw.
But you could see a potential where you would have truck traffic at this place 24 hours a day in and out?
I mean, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
And the reason I'm asking that, Mr. Rosenboom, is something that's going around in my head is a condition, an hours of operation condition. And that's why I guess that's why I'm trying to get to the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so we have people coming, raw milk is coming in, and then we have trailers that are coming in to, that show up empty and leave full and stuff like that. And, they truckers, operate at their own hours. And so they may be at the facility. We have a kind of a loading area that they can park, that a truck could be coming, yeah, I suppose, at any time.
So you maybe already have traffic coming outside of those hours?
I mean, potentially, I honestly, I don't know.
Okay. That's all, thanks.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward. All right, seeing none, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application, please come forward. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Bethany Eric. I'm at 46747 291st Street, Centerville, South Dakota, 571014. I am a half a mile south of this operation. And I see a lot of new faces here, and I'm very glad to meet you. I hope that you will see my plight and be able to help us defend our way of life out there. Living a half a mile from it, going from 10 to 50 trucks, and possibility of 24-hour operation is precisely the reason the word litigation was tossed around in 2023 and accomplished, because our way of life is at risk. Adding this modification, they make it sound like it's a great thing, it's beneficial for everybody, everybody's expecting it. We're not. We live there. We are not expecting additional noise, light, sound, pollution, They didn't go right by my house at 24 hours a day. That just about made me sick. And thank you, Eric Scott, for, proposing that perhaps I would get a night's sleep. That would be wonderful. When you're looking at their application, they talk a lot about water reclamation, and I hope that that is their true intent. But what we see, and if you ever take the time to do a little bit of scientific research on this outfit and how they operate and how dairies as a whole take advantage of communities and counties that are not well aware and well informed, you'll see that ultrafiltration is primarily designed to create a cheese plant. And that's what I'm fearing right now. If we approve this ultrafiltration modification to their existing permit, we are not just opening the door to saving water. Folks, we are looking at a serious infiltration of industrial ag coming to our neighborhood. That's why we're here. And I hope and pray that you will hear our plea when others stand up in opposition to this modification acceptance as well. It's not any other reason than we want to protect our way of life. We've had so many trucks go by and we've lost windshields, we've had them run stop signs, we've had all kinds of problems. And nobody seems to understand. Toby Brown mentioned in his opening statement that we're within the ag confines of this zoning, correct? However, on the bigger level, on the higher level, the big picture, you're here to protect life, safety, and health. I do not feel protected with this outfit near me. I do not feel safe. I do not feel that my neighbors are safe. I do not feel that our children are safe when they are driving on these roads with 50 additional trucks coming in daily. Folks, this isn't a once in a lifetime allowed by the farm resident, the little signature thing you're supposed to sign when you buy a property, understanding that farming takes a little bit of time and odor and noise and all this stuff. Folks, this is 24 hours a day potentially, but daily nonetheless. My way of life is directly impacted, as are my neighbors. When we had this discussion in 2023 for the original permit, there were over 200 signatures of people around my area. Now think about the population density out where I'm at. There are 200 people, your voters, that said no. I don't want it. We've had nothing but problems, and we appreciate that you're willing to hear me and hear my neighbors when we beg you for protection of life, health, and safety, which is what ultimately planning and zoning is here to protect, in addition to supporting the efforts of continued growth within this county. So, any questions for me?
No, this is your time to speak.
Okay, well, if you'd let, if I could, I'll bring up the map. And I want to show you guys 46747. This is me, right down in the center. Their proposed modification is right there. So we're not talking a far distance. So it directly impacts me. It directly impacts my road. It directly impacts every time that I get on the road and travel to work. Every time our school buses go down that major county road. So the ultrafiltration and the way that they're talking about it, like, oh, we save water, that's a smokescreen. That's maybe part of it, but I really, truly believe that that's not what we're looking for. What I think we're really ultimately going to open the door to by approving this conditional use permit modification is a cheese plant, and I beg you, I plead with you to protect us. Thank you for listening. Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody else in opposition?
Hello, I'm Joyce Tevet, and my address is 46802 292nd Street, Beersford, South Dakota. I live approximately 1.25 miles straight south of what this is proposed increase, which I'm against, and I will explain why. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to give you a snapshot in time. And this was a nuisance zoning complaint that I sent in on 9/05 of '24 to this committee, Planning and Zoning. Running through stop sign without stopping and speeding. This is right outside my house. Silage trucks, wagons on roads. And I want to mention that this is, for a couple of weeks, it goes into the night. Going back to what I wrote, starting again, quote, silage trucks, wagons on roads. Next to our house, we have a short driveway. On the corner of 468th Avenue and 292nd Street, driving very fast and very frequently, causing significant dust clouds and unsafe road conditions. There's already been one death connected to this dairy, and I'm sure you're aware of that. A gentleman was killed by one of the tractors that went through a stop sign. I really don't see how this can be expanded anymore at this time. Please. Thank you for your time. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else in opposition to the application?
Dwayne Carlson, 29287, 467th Avenue, Centerville, South Dakota. I guess I'm in opposition tonight because of the conditional use permit that was put in place to start with. I brought a bunch of evidence and we had a agreement that we were going to get a road haul agreement. And when the township put a road haul agreement in place or tried to, then it went to litigation because they didn't like it. And it was called a licensing scheme instead of a road haul agreement. Well, it wasn't any scheme at all. It was an opportunity to try and reclaim some of the gravel costs that we've incurred. Over the last 10 years, we've went from $30,000 a year in gravel to over $90,000 a year in gravel. And that doesn't fix the problem. It just is a Band-Aid, basically. It keeps the road to safety specs. And the expansion, if you continue and allow expansion without putting these rules in place that were already done, what's that tell everybody? You mean you don't have to do anything as far as compliance? You can just move on, forget about it? I would just like you to consider what's already in place as far as the conditional use agreement that was put in place for the original plant here. And think about those 50 trucks that are going down. They're actually county roads, but they move into Delaware on the Brooklyn Road and in different areas because of the traffic flow. It doesn't just come off the interstate and come down one road because there's multiple lanes of traffic there. If they're using, say, manure lines or something like that, then they have to go around those trucks so they have room on these roads. So it does impact more than just a couple miles of road off the interstate and then a 1 mile of Delaware road. So just from 10 to 50 is a large increase. Start thinking about the volume per day that we're talking about. And I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Brooklyn Township.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. I'll note that. All right, is there anybody else in opposition of the application?
Ernest Strautmeyer, 28503, 474 Avenue, Worthing. When they talk about the traffic, I've seen the same traffic conditions I'm quite a ways from this location, but they were buying the hay from a neighbor of ours, and they had 13 vehicles that I seen come up to a stop sign. One vehicle actually stopped. The others slowed down enough so they could make the turn. A couple of weeks after that was when that situation happened over on the Beersford Road where that elderly man got ran over and died. I called the sheriff's department about running a stop sign, and by the time they got out there, they were done with cutting, so he knew who they were. He called the person that he had stopped the day before for speeding. They gave him the boss's name, and he says that they would talk to him. I don't know why we have a sheriff's department if they're gonna not do anything and wait till somebody gets run over. And now you're talking about allowing more of this is the proposed process that's been recommended to approve. If you're gonna have these commercial industries, get a commercial industry location along the interstate where that proposed plan is supposed to be, and put them over there where they belong. And if they're gonna be running 50 trucks just for this part, has absolutely nothing to do with when they're hauling the feed in and whatever other processes they do. I don't understand why there's any kind of a question about what needs to be done for the road. If the county is gonna approve a plan, then the county should see to it that the road's taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. All right, is there anybody else in opposition of the application to come forward?
Dave Gillespie, 1125 East Elder Street, Canton, South Dakota. I was serving on the commission when this came about years ago. And original count over there was 4,250 head. And a lot of people said, well, we can live with that. Now this thing has turned into some kind of an uncontrollable monster. You know, 10 trucks going to 50, that is a mouthful. Plus what Mr. Stratmeyer said, all the other things that are happening. Most people can live with the dairy over there, but it has went way out of proportion from what originally it was, 4,250 head. And Mr. Jerry Wester, who lives over on 17, said we can live with the 4,250 at one of our meetings. But now it's turned into thousands. And I think we need to put a cap on this. It's just too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. All right, is there anybody else in opposition of the application?
Chad Baldwin, 46743 287th Street, Delaware Township. I guess I've had several people in our township more concerned about the extra traffic, than a lot of things. That's one of our main concerns, is just to try to figure out the traffic issue that we don't have major problems. Like I said, it's, are we gonna keep increasing? 2 years from now, we're gonna have 250 loads of milk going in there. I guess I'd like to see a plan possibly of, what their future looks like. But thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Chad, you are in the Delaware Township?
Yep, Supervisor.
Okay, thank you.
Philip Christopherson, 46410 287th Street, Centerville, Delaware Township Board. And yes, we have a road haul agreement, and I guess mainly because we didn't want to fiddle with lawyers too long, but we offered them an opportunity to create a road district for that road, and they've refused. And another thing, when this original conditional use permit came up, I think one of the questions was, are you going to bring in milk from the outside? And they were all vague about it, and I guess that's probably kind of the thing that's got me a little steamed, that they are going to bring all this stuff in now, whereas when the original conditional use permit plan was approved, well, they never said no, but they never said yes either. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else in opposition of the application?
Stephen Holmberg, 46551 293rd Street, Centerville, South Dakota, Chairman of Brooklyn Township. I guess I'm here in opposition to this also. Just reiterating some of the things Dwayne said that was on Township Board also. We've attempted to get road haul agreements with the dairy. Just sent another one to them today, and we'll see how that turns out. We've been trying to work with these people ever since they came in, and I feel like to our township, they have not been honest most of the time. They'll tell us one thing, and just as Philip was mentioning there, it seems like they are rather vague on things, and all of a sudden you find out what they really meant was something totally different. I missed part of the meeting here, but 50 truckloads a day extra, is that considering the 24 hours a day? Is that the maximum they're talking about here? Or is that what they're planning right now? What would 24 hours a day be? How many truckloads? Have you asked them that? What's the maximum amount of trucks that this plant could be taking in? I think that's something that you really need to find out about. What's their future building plans here? What phase are we on? Like was talked about, they were going to come in with a 4,200 head dairy. People in the area were willing to try to get along with them. But this has totally changed from what people originally knew about or thought what was coming. And what more is coming? Can you find out what really is going to be happening with this operation? And, I'm not sure that it should still be considered A1 ag or the tax that they're under. These facilities are manufacturing. If you're concerned about the income that the county is getting on taxation, perhaps they should be taxed differently, because they're not just a family farm with a few cows or a few pigs. This is a massive operation. I'm concerned about all the environmental things here. They're increasing this plant. At our meeting with them this year, I asked about the chemicals that they were using. And I was told, well, we don't really want to talk about that. Well, to me, that's a red flag. Well, he said, well, we could maybe tell you about it, but you can't tell anybody else. Well, I don't know which chemicals they're using on all these facilities. Yes, they're supposedly approved things, but at what level? If someone using a gallon of this compared to 10,000 gallons and putting that in the environment around us, it's a way different thing. May be safe at this low amount, but if you're talking the amounts that they have to be using there, I'm not sure that it is. Very concerned about the groundwater. You've heard about all the dust problems we have. I know that's not attributed to this specific thing that they're trying to expand, but when you got that many trucks coming, it's definitely going to be hard on all the roads around here. County roads are falling apart now. I think it would be best to perhaps find out a few more facts and what's going on here before you approve another expansion. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve. All right, is there any other people against the application? All right, seeing none, I will read a letter from A.J. Swanson sent to the commission. Boy, this is a long one. But we have to read it in, so here we go. All right, from A.J. Swanson to Toby Brown. This starts out with Toby, attached, please find a letter of protest submitted on behalf of Brooklyn Township. While the condensed milk plant operation seems unlikely to directly affect road maintenance in Brooklyn Township, the entire dairy operation in question certainly does. As quantities of feedstuffs are harvested and moved out of Brooklyn to these dairies, causing significant wear and tear on the secondary roads, I expect several township supervisors to be in attendance at the hearing. As the township looks for a solution in dealing with this financial burden illustrated in the attached letter. Thank you, A.J. Swanson. All right, then the letter goes on. This was sent May 16th, 2025. Dear Toby, this is a letter of protest on behalf of Brooklyn Township Board of Supervisors and also on behalf of the taxpayers of Brooklyn. The township has legal responsibility for the care and maintenance of the 42 miles of gravel secondary roads, which includes 1 mile of minimum maintenance. The additional 5 miles are ranked and signed as no maintenance. The township attempts to do this with 1 part-time patrol officer and 3 elected supervisors, each with their own farming operations and duties. In 2013, Brooklyn Township applied 207 truckloads of surfacing gravel at a cost of $42,712.06 to the secondary roads. This was a year before Den Doak Dairies started in operations in Delaware Township. In 2024, Brooklyn's gravel needs have risen to 341 truckloads applied at a cost of $90,296.80. This represents doubling the cost in 10 years, with the average cost per load rising from $241 to $264, 9.5% increase. The cost of gravel is one of the largest budget items of the township. The supervisors for Brooklyn have no doubt in this increase is, the supervisors of Brooklyn have no doubt that this increase in cost is due largely, if not entirely, to the fact that Den Doak Industries entities have been allowed under the county's zoning ordinance and actions to get underway to therefore greatly expand without any duty on the part of the operations to address the extraordinary wear and tear they are creating on the local secondary roads. In granting the original milk plant conditional use permit 0010-2023, The Planning Commission imposed 7 conditions. The 7th item is for staff to facilitate annual meeting of the Brooklyn and Delaware Townships with the owner-operator of the plant. While Brooklyn appreciates this opportunity to be involved in discussions with staff and the plant operator, the fact remains the inbound and outbound flow of traffic truck represents virtually no real challenge for or adverse impact on the secondary roads of Brooklyn Township. No, what is actually devastating the gravel roads of Brooklyn Township is the fact that Dundalk Dairy operations rely on farmers in this township, along with the large harvesting contractors, to quickly and efficiently remove hay and silage from local fields, which typically are aligned along a secondary road. The results in high numbers of intense, heavy loaded traffic moving quickly and often during very dusty conditions. Under very dry conditions, the essential binder escapes into the air as aggregate turns into marble spinning off into the ditch. The township's roads must be frequently maintained and re-gravelled as a result. Going back to the original conditional use permit action 13-CUP-040, the initial proposal was for 4,250 head of cattle, Class A dairy. The current operations are thought to involve 3 times or more in number, and all have to eat. All right, they 3 times, and all the additional cattle have to eat. The original CUP does require that the county office be furnished with road maintenance agreements between the applicant and the road authority. I'm not clear on whether this was limited to Delaware Township or perhaps with Brooklyn Township as well. I can say there is not presently any road maintenance agreements in place between the Dundalk Dairy operations and the Brooklyn Township. The dairy has proposed a road haul agreement in the form attached hereto. If implemented, the agreement would require very substantial time involvement on the part of the Brooklyn supervisors, both before and after intended usage of the Brooklyn Township road system. A use which extends pretty much throughout the growing season. The supervisors are knowledgeable of gravel road conditions and requirements, but they are not engineers. The agreement proposed by Dundalk is simply not a workable solution for the wear and tear visited on Brooklyn's roads by literally dozens upon dozens of heavy, fast-moving, loaded movements. As a result, Dundalk's operations, being a major, if not excessive, cause of wear, have contributed nothing towards the township's increased road costs. Brooklyn Township intends to seek review of 13-CUP-040 in the near future, unless the applicant is willing to come to terms on a suitable comprehensive agreement to accomplish dust control during intensive operations and contributing to the cost of maintaining the added gravel. Future conferences with staff, applicant, and township should include the full scope of inbound or outbound traffic, particularly that which negatively impacts the road of local townships. The Dundalk dairies are entitled to use the township's roads so long as they are doing so lawfully. This use, however, is extremely intensive, while causing a financial burden to the township that is otherwise hard to precisely document and quantify. The township has the legal duty to keep the roads in good, usable condition. The applicant is able to engage in this intensive business because of the conditional use permission extended by the county's planning commission. The township is asking for assistance in bringing applicants' various divisions to agreement that requires the dairy to shoulder some specific parts of the obvious financial burdens which are now borne by the township in this effort to keep the secondary roads safe for all travel. Sincerely yours, our David Swanson. All right. That is official. All right, with that, we had no additional comments in opposition of the application. So I will close the floor to public comment.
Mr.
And
Chair.
then I'll ask for a motion.
Well, I have a question for Mr. Brown, is that all right?
Yes, let's ask some of those questions. Well, let's do that during our discussion. Let's ask for a moment.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to ask it before.
Okay.
It'll be real quick. Thanks, Toby. Toby, it was referenced by Mr. Carlson that with the original conditional use permit, that there was a condition requiring a road haul agreement. I just want to clarify that. Is that for this Red Rock operation, or is he referring to the original dairy? I guess, let me ask you, in the original agreement here, is there a condition that there has to be a road haul agreement?
No. So if you look on the staff report, use 0010-2023, those were the 7 conditions that were put on the conditional use permit. This use 0010-2023 was approved by the Planning Commission, was then appealed to the Board of Commissioners. There was a lengthy discussion. The Board of Commissioners did table the application. They asked the township and the dairy to work on a road haul agreement. They came back and said there was no agreement, so the Board of Commissioners did not put any stipulation that there needed to be. The condition, though, number 7 is that we would facilitate that annual meeting. But under this conditional use permit, which is applied to this property, there is no requirement for a road haul agreement with either Delaware or Brooklyn Townships for this particular property and this particular application. So,
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Commissioners, are there any other questions for staff? Since we're asking, I'll ask the applicant to come forward. There was a question about limit of 50. Is that the max? Could you see more? Can we get an answer for that, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
And can I get your name again?
Yep,
For the
Paul
record?
Cosboth with A1 Development Solutions out of Sioux Falls. And what's being shared as far as this expansion and what the capacity of the plant is exactly that number. I mean, that's just the amount of the milk that could run through that today. And I would just point out that any expansion in the future, if there ever was one, if that does work out, just like it wasn't known 2 years ago, that there'd be able to be an opportunity to do this today. As Toby pointed out earlier, that would require, once again, coming back in. That was part of the original agreement versus what otherwise normally, as Toby mentioned, would have been an administrative addition at this point, as I understood it from the way Toby explained it.
Thank you, Paul.
Absolutely.
All right. If everyone's okay, I'll ask for a motion, and then we can have a discussion.
So I have a lot of questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And because of that, I'm going to move to postpone until we can have some more discussion. We can dig into a few things. I have a few requests for the next time that we would hear this. And so I guess that's my motion, is to postpone currently.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone. Is there a second?
Second, Boots.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's discuss that. You want to discuss your proposal?
Well, I mean, I just think that, here's my talking points. As I was up here taking notes, and I tried to condense them. Some questions I have, and I know at the last one, we had some discussion about this, about ag businesses and if they should, where they should fall in the zoning, and, examples that were used were CHS at the Worthing Exit and Poet, Ethanol at Hudson, Farmers Co-op Society, and yes, those are all in A1. But as I've looked through, there's also ag businesses in commercial, Wilbur Ellis, Superior Grain Bins. There's actually one in an I-1 light industrial, which is strange to me, but that's down on the Norway Center exit. And so I do think that with our new comprehensive plan and going forward, we haven't had the time to discuss what ag looks like in Lincoln County and what is that, and where should it be? And I feel like that discussion should be maybe had first. It sounds like we're going to have it shortly. And I believe that maybe we'll decide that everything stays the same and that's fine, but at least we went through the process and had it, right? I also, one of the things when we get into these that I would feel a lot more comfortable making decisions is if we had time to talk to the highway department and most recently in some of these, and I think in this case too, is the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department. I know that in my township that we've had some things where the Sheriff's Department isn't able to respond because they're too busy in the northern part of the county. And so I do have sympathy with people that are in extreme southwest Lincoln County that maybe they aren't getting the support due to other needs in the northern part of the county. And I'd just like to have that discussion first. And so those are some of the things that I'd like to, I guess, explore first before I vote on any of this, because I think there's a really important conversations to have, and I don't believe we've had them yet. And so instead of just voting no and saying no, because I don't know that that's right yet either. I guess I'm at the point where I need more information and want to have more discussion before we move on and make importantly huge decisions that not only affect this project, but could have a lasting effect on many projects in Lincoln County, good or bad. So that's where I'm at. That's why I propose the postponement.
Thank you, and postpone. That does mean Robert's Rules of Orders. That means we review this again next month, or we have to set a date to review it?
So we can do it, I guess I didn't move to postpone it definitely. And so I'm not putting a date out there. So I think that is something that we will decide after we've had time to, I guess, get time to have the discussions and the information that we have, you know. Now, if you guys would like to amend my motion and make it definitely with a time, that's fine too. And I probably would be in support of that as well. But I don't, my small Norwegian brain, I don't have a good idea on a date, I guess. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so your motion is to propose, and we'll come up with a date at a later time. Okay. Rest of the commission?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I tend to agree with getting some more information. I'm kind of struggling a little bit on, obviously this was a dairy and now it seems to be moving beyond what my mind seems what ag is. It's a whole different world than my grandpa Boots' farm and the rest of my cousins that are still farming and stuff. So to me, agriculture falls under that farming, and yeah, livestock and everything else, but we're kind of getting into that gray areas more. Is this a business versus just the dairy when we're talking taking trucks and everything in? And I'm not necessarily against what they're planning, but again, I'd like to see just a little more information too, because obviously there's a lot of neighbors here that are here to speak tonight that have kind of brought what I thought I had some answers from reading this to some more questions that I do have now.
Understood.
I would agree that talking to the highway department is important, because going from 10 to 50 trucks a day is a huge number. I mean, that's a huge number of empty, loaded, whatever they might be. That's a huge number of, and it also increases the number of employees that are going to be coming to that place. So the extra traffic is a concern for me.
All right, so at this point, we have a motion to postpone. Do we have a second?
You do from Boots.
Yeah. I second.
You've got a second.
Oh, you did, I apologize. All right.
Mr. Chair, before we proceed,
Yes, sir.
just wanted to tell the commission, Robert's Rules tells us that a motion to postpone is to a specific date and
No,
time.
that's not right.
A
You can
table is
put-
to indefinite period of time.
No, you're not right on that, Joe. Table, if we were to table, it has to automatically go to next business, or next meeting to old business, and has to be moved and taken off the table. And if it's not, it's dead. Motion to postpone, you can either do it definitely to a date, or we can postpone indefinitely and pick a date later, and then it doesn't have to go to the next business. I'll send it to you.
So we have a motion and a second. So in order to keep this moving forward, I think I would like to do an amendment to that for a date.
Pick one.
Again, just to keep it moving forward, that way we can, after next month, we could postpone it again
Yep.
if we don't feel we have the right answers.
Okay, that's fine, go ahead.
So I would like to amend the postponement to include the date of the next meeting next month. I'm not sure on that date in front of me.
Would be the 16th of June.
Okay. Yeah, so that'd be my amendment to the proposal is to set a date of June 16th.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so
vote
we'll
on
do
that
a
first.
roll call on the amendment.
Yep.
All right, so, get my sheet out here. Commissioner Sweeter.
We're doing a roll call on the amendment to June 16, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
Abstain.
and Commissioner Jungley's a yes. All right, so application 2, USE 0014-2025 has been postponed till next month.
We got to vote on the postponement with the amendment now.
We have to.
We just
We
voted
do.
for the
We
for
do.
the amendment.
Yep. All right, so we have a vote on the postponement with the amendment attached to it.
Mhm.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All right, then we'll go, Commissioner Sweeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten,
As the Lincoln County representative, I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
and Commissioner Jungley is a yes. All right. Thank you, everybody.
So the board did close the public hearing. I would request that we re-advertise. So I was just asking that in general on that part of it, so, just so that we will go through the same process of posting and advertising and stuff like that, okay? All right,
1,000% agree, everyone needs to have.
yep, so let's make that
discussion.
statement that we're gonna do that, so, okay, all right,
Yep.
okay.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, and I mean, my feelings on that, I think we still are, but that's okay, yeah. If that covers your end of it, Toby, we're good.
All right, with that, we have application number 3.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this next item is a conditional use permit for an oversized warehouse building. Again, in the C Commercial District, warehousing over 10,000 square feet does require a conditional use permit. The applicant in this case is proposing 12,600 square feet for a new building for warehousing. Subject property is adjacent to the city of T. It'd just be on the north east side of the city of T, again on the west side of Interstate 29. Subject property is zoned C Commercial. Subject property to the, what you call, it's a little awkward parcel, so I'll say to the rear and to the north of it is annexed into the city of T. All adjacent properties to the south are within the county and are zone C Commercial or like zoning with that. Subject property is undeveloped at this time. There are no structures on the property. So the applicant did submit an application to construct a 600 square foot building as shown on the drawing. This would allow the applicant to utilize the property or the structure for warehousing. So staff did review the application. As you're aware, this is a developed, Kerslake edition or second edition is a developed commercial industrial park. So most of the parcels are adjoining are developed as such with various conditional use permits that range all the way from maintenance and storage to warehousing and wholesale trade. Which is of note is that prior to the current zoning ordinance, the county did allow manufacturing within the commercial district. So a number of these carryover properties that do allow manufacturing as a conditional use permit, that would be non-allowable, but that's not what the applicant is proposing under the new regulations. So the applicant is proposing to construct a 600 square foot warehouse. They'll be utilized for warehousing or storage. That structure would contain 6 units within the structure. So staff did review the application, did post the property. The applicant did send notification to all surrounding properties as well as the city of T. So staff has had discussion with staff from the city of T. They did have recommendations and reviewing our analysis for additional conditions on there. Primarily things that county staff would not be aware of. The city of T is proposing a bike walking path in the rear of this property. So they wanted to make sure that there was some screening and landscape buffering within that property. So staff does recommend approval of this application for the up to 12,600 square feet of total warehousing space on the property with the 9 conditions that are listed there. Again, going along with what the city of T would like to see as far as additional conditions on there because of the proposed bike walking path that they're going to be constructing near this property. So did discuss that with the applicant. I believe he doesn't have any objections to those conditions that are within there. So with that, and beyond that, city staff didn't really have any objections to the proposed land use that was there. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that the board has for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, commissioners, any questions for staff?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and talk about their project.
Todd Peterson, 27149 475th Avenue, Harrisburg. I currently own the property right to the south or adjoining this property. We've just outgrown our space. I always build things too small. So this proposed property that we got now is divided in a 40 by 40 area, a 60 by 60, and 3 34 by 60 areas. We plan on occupying the 40 by 40 and the 60 by 60, and the other ones, till we need the space, we would just rent out, so we don't have to come back in front of me again and build again, so. So basically, it's gonna be used just for storage, kinda get my junk out of the way so people don't see it.
We always appreciate that. All right, yeah, commissioners, any questions for the applicant? No. Thank you, Todd. All right, at this time, we'll ask anybody in favor of the application come forward. All right, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application to come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I'll make the motion to approve the Boots.
Second, Scott.
All right, and I assume with the 9 conditional conditions? Okay.
Yes, with the 9 conditions.
Motion and second with the 9 conditions. Commissioners, any other discussion?
Other than I like it when somebody wants to clean their stuff up and make it look nice.
I 100% agree with that. All right, with that, I'll do roll call. Commissioner Sweeter,
Yes.
Commissioner Boots,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Otten.
Abstain.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Congratulations, Todd. All right, with that, we will move on to old business. Mr. Brown, is there any old business to talk about?
None, Mr. Chair.
All right, then we have new business. Any new business?
The only thing I'd mention is that the public hearing for the change of zone last month will be next Tuesday night. So the Board of Commissioners will be meeting at night in the evening, starting at 6:30. They will not be meeting a typical 8 o'clock or 8:30 meeting on that day. So just so everyone's aware of that, and we did post property and go through that, but I just wanted to also just make on record that that was the case. Then as well as the subcommittee of Commissioner Boots, Commissioner Scott, and Commissioner Jongling will start meeting this coming month and into next month to provide some recommendations to the rest of the board on the bylaws and then also potential zoning ordinance amendments. So with that, that's all I had for updates, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Yeah, before we close, I'd like to just say that subcommittee, I'm looking forward to that, which is basically making slight adjustments to our bylaws and ordinances, whatnot, to go align with the master plan we have for the county. So we'll look at them all, we'll make adjustments, updates, and go one by one. I'm excited for that part. With that, we don't have anything else. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn, Scott.
Second, Sweeter?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you, everybody, for your time.